And I am live. How's it going, everybody? It is DKR Little Fox. Here's my channel. I talk about anime, video games, cartoons, most notably Sonic and Ninja Turtles. And tonight I am doing a live stream. Yep, that's right. I know it's a little bit late. Instead, it's really about about to be 10 o'clock. It's 9:59 and all that. But I have a guest over and stuff like that. So I kind of had to make sure everything was kind of in order or out the way or whatever and stuff like that. But I was still gonna go ahead and do this anyways, like regardless. But at least find like a place where I can at least be at to kind of stream and all that stuff because I usually like to stream without being entirely interrupted, or being entirely distracted. So, yep. So I definitely have some things to talk about a little bit. My day was pretty much good so far. If I've probably already mentioned it before, my cousin had recently like graduated from like high school, aka early college, for her, and today we just celebrated, so we had a little bit of a party and all that stuff. So that was pretty fun. A lot of her friends showed up, a lot of family friends and all that, and like came by, etc. So we all had a good time. Ate food, played some like trivia games, all that stuff. Uh, After that, kind of cleaned up, drove back home, and just chilled out for a bit. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I did today, though. It's definitely a step up better compared to the last couple of days, which it wasn't hard or anything, but it was just like, boy, do I got a story to tell you guys, as you can see by the title of the video. Yo, what's happening, Fierce Empathetic Black Queen? How's it going? Got three people watching. How you guys doing tonight? So, anyways, I guess I'll get into some of the story times a little bit. I'm gonna try and go in order. Well, actually, you know what? I'm gonna talk about So yesterday, Friday and stuff, I was working at my job at Dunkin' Donuts and stuff, and a car had like caught on fire from like way across the street and stuff. Like it was crazy. Like I was like, oh, there's a car on fire, and like there was like an ambulance and a bunch of like police and sheriffs and stuff parked on the side, and traffic and stuff like that. Um, so there was a male nurse that was in training and stuff. He kind of like he was like getting his order or whatever, and he was like, "Oh, let me go across the street and let me take a picture real quick to see like what happened and stuff." He said that nobody was really hurt or anything. He didn't really ask any like questions or anything, but he was like, "Yeah, but that windshield was like is completely gone or whatever, like eviscerated." So yeah, that was pretty crazy. Crazy things happen. Yeah, yes, it does. And I'm definitely about to get to my story too. Well, that was one of my stories. So yeah, that happened. So I mean, as long as nobody got hurt, but that was just something that randomly happened yesterday. And then Thursday, the day before, um, I titled this "I almost fought a racist." Right. So let me take it from the top. So basically, I was closing with this guy. Right. He's a high schooler and stuff like that. So and he's kind of I think he's like Hispanic, but anyways, we're closing together and stuff like that. And usually we close at like 8, so we're trying to like get home early as possible. So we're trying to like wrap up everything. So there's this guy that comes in, right, and he wants to get like a drink, like a frozen coffee. It's called like he wants to get like an Oreo chiller or whatever. It's basically just a frozen coffee with like Oreo and stuff. That's the in season thing that we got in right now, right? So he wants that. I'm like, all right, cool. My coworker rings him up and all that stuff, and I make the drink. Um, then he complains. It was like, this don't look nothing like it does in the picture. Blah blah blah. I've had 5 of those and stuff like that. I'm like, well, the thing is missing the whipped cream. So I was about to just put the whipped cream and the Oreo crumbles on top to make it look like the picture, like he wanted, and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, well, if you say please, then sure. I mean, like, yeah, it wouldn't kill you to say please and stuff like that. And then the guy like looked at me and was like, "You getting smart with me, boy?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I am." I'm like, "Yeah, I am getting smart with you," and stuff like that. Because I'm like, first off, who do you think? I'm like, first, I'm not gonna let you talk to me like that. I'm like, I'm sorry, no. Because hey, look, don't get me wrong. Sometimes with customers and stuff, like when you work at a job, like I mean, okay, how do I put this? Let's say when I'm the customer, right, and I'm like, I'm usually patient with people and stuff like that. I mean, sometimes some coworkers or some employees can be like, a little bit sloppy, messy, or have bad attitudes. Sometimes I get that, But I can understand some people could be going through things. So sometimes I'm a very patient person on the other side, and I understand too what it's like to work in like fast food, right? But but when you're on the like, when I'm like on the clock and stuff and I'm working and whatnot, bruh, it's like, yeah, like with some people and stuff, it's just like, bruh, like it ain't even that damn serious. Like when the customer wants to bring their problems and put it on you or whatever, I'm like, okay, cool. But anyways, I'm getting off topic. I'm derailing. So basically, he was like, "You getting smart with me, boy?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am getting smart." And stuff like that. Like, and don't get me wrong, I was a little nervous too because I don't want to like fight the guy, but I'm like, but I'm not gonna also like let you talk to me like any kind of way either, because I am a human being at the end of the day and I do make mistakes. Like I'm not some kind of bot that you can just be like, oh well, I don't know. So, anyways, the guy gets all like his ego and stuff like that is hurt, even though I fixed his drink, and then he's like, you know what, I want a refund and stuff like that, and I'm like, and here's the catch though. Me and my buddy here, we're not shift leads, so like AK, we're not like the what is it, the assistant manager. That's what a shift lead is basically, but we're not the manager or the shift lead, so we can't really issue him a refund. And he was like, yeah, like because we need like the little clearance or whatever and stuff like that for the register. We can't just open up the register whenever we feel like it, right? So I was like, well, we can't refund you because we're not shift leads. So then he's all mad, but he still has to drink though. And he's like, you know what? What you call it? I'm gonna slap the shit out of you and stuff like that. I'm like, you're gonna slap the shit out of me. So, anyways, he calls me boy a couple of times or whatever. I can't remember how that whole conversation went, but yeah, I swear he really called me boy. He was a white dude, and I'm black, obviously, and stuff like that. But he was like a white guy, has like a bit of a country accent and stuff like that. He was all like, just like that. I'm like, bro, it's not even that serious. Over some whipped cream and some cookie crumbles on top. Okay, sure. But he still had the drink. He walked out, and then he was like, "Oh, what time you get off?" I was like, "I get off at 9," because I'm like, I ain't trying to deal with this after I get off my shift. You crazy? So even though I don't get off at 9, I get off at really 8, kind of skidding at 8:30, pretty much. But so I told him that, and he was like, "Oh, I'll see you then," and stuff like, "All right, I'll see you then." Now I'll get security too and stuff because yeah, you never know. People can be crazy. They'll probably bring like knives or guns or whatever and stuff like that, weapons, or whatever, over simple shit. So yeah, which I also have another story for that one too that I'll probably tell you guys in a second. So I was like, all right, so we continue to close and stuff like that. And I try like after that I just try to like watch my back and stuff. Be like, all right, let me look out the back door in case he might try something or whatever. Because after like that guy like went to his car, he like goes into his car and then he like before he pulls off, like before he turns that corner, he tries to get a good look at my face or stare at me or something like that, and then he just drives off and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, like I don't know what the whole point was. That like what is he trying to prove here or what? But that was pretty dumb if you were to ask me. So yeah, so yeah, but at least he didn't put no voodoo on me because I remember one time one of my coworkers had made this one woman, this Haitian lady, so mad that she was talking about I'm going to put a voodoo on her and stuff like that. So I'm not like that is a constant thing with me, but some customers sometimes it's like, all right, don't like. Sometimes it's just like, don't even try me right now, or I will say something like snippy or something, what are you back or whatever, you know what I mean? Because I'm just not gonna like let you talk to me any kind of way. And hey, don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm not gonna like back it up too. If I have to, I will. But I don't want to like just go in and just like fight people for no reason, or like lose my job, or like I don't want to like or if I get arrested and stuff like that, and they'd be like, oh, well, you threw the first punch, so therefore, or you instigated it or whatever. You know what I mean? They can always hit you with that. Almost racist accident incident or angry redneck customer, both. Both. He was like that's what I was saying. He was like some kind of redneck or something like that because he had a country accent. I mean, look, I'm not saying well, I don't know the full definition of redneck, but to me, I think a redneck is just it's a derogatory term for just saying a country person. Yeah, I don't got nothing against country people because I've worked with some country people in the past. Because I mean, I'm currently living in North Carolina, in the South, so of course I've seen like people from the South come up here. Even a girl that I used to work with, her name was Josie. She used to work up here at Duncan as well. She was a white girl. We got along. We closed almost all the time and stuff like that, etc. So yeah, we were cool and stuff. It's not everyone, but yeah, I say as a white guy, myself, the white people are the most insecure ones. Yeah, that's exactly what this guy was. He was just insecure and stuff. I'm like, bro, over some whipped cream. But it's probably not like in his eyes. He's probably like, it's not the whipped cream though. It's probably like it's a pride thing, or you humiliated me, even though it was just me, my coworker, and him, the only three people in the building and stuff. But okay, you really want to drag this out and in front of the cameras too. Okay, cool. So yeah, so that happened. So I was like, all right, and then I had to come back and work the same hours or the next day and all that stuff. So that was, I was like, all right, well, I'm a little bit nervous, or I had to like definitely watch my back because you never know. This guy could probably show up around the same time and be like, oh, what's good and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But yeah, but low key though, I mean, this could be just a conspiracy. I think he might have been like possibly a drug dealer or something like that. I know it's a stretch, but just hear me out though. I'm like, because he paid with his drink for like with a $10 bill, and he also kind of like not like he's dressed like a certain type of way, but he's just like got a black t-shirt. I'm gonna show you not what he looks like, but what I kind of like what he like reminds me of. And this is gonna be a little bit of a roast, but also kind of like but yeah, like this is like what this guy really looks like at one point. Family Guy mirror on the wall. But yeah, so yeah, but yeah, I think he might have been like possibly a drug dealer. You never know because he paid with like a $10 bill. He's dressed like like black t-shirt, pants or whatever. Drives a nice car or whatever and stuff like that. And then he has that entitled uh, attitude, and then on top of that, he's like impulsive. Like yeah, so I think yeah, this guy probably lived some kind of dangerous life, in my personal opinion. If he's like willing to like really just go from like 0 to 100 like that. Anyway, let me show you what the guy looked like. What I think like to me what he looked like. If you guys remember this from Family Guy.
Magic mirror, how can I look like a douchebag today?
Well, Kevin,
And I'm not kidding either. He literally looks like this guy, man.
would say, first of all, don't
Imagine like a black t-shirt and like he has like this hair, this exact haircut and this exact like facial hair.
shave or shower.
Okay, I won't.
And you just got out of bed, right?
Yeah.
I would say just go ahead and wear that tank top all day.
Okay.
All right, so we cover the hygiene, no collared shirts. Oh, and don't forget to walk around with an undeserved sense of accomplishment.
Magic mirror, how can I look like a douchebag today?
Well, Kevin, I would say, first of all, don't shave or shower.
Okay, I won't.
And you just got out of bed, right?
And he was a little skinny too, so I'm like, it wasn't like he was like a big dude or whatever either. So
Yeah.
I would say just go ahead and wear that tank top all day.
Okay.
All right, so we cover the hygiene, no collared shirts. Oh, and don't forget to walk around with an undeserved sense of accomplishment.
and just to put this out there, I don't really care what people like say about me if it's like racially or whatever. If you like somebody like, let's say he called me the ninja with the ER and all that, I honestly wouldn't really care. I'd be like, oh, so we're getting comfortable saying that stuff or whatever, or like yeah, because he was calling me boy a couple of times. He's like, oh, you getting smart with me, boy, and stuff. I'm like, okay, sure. But I mean, I'm more worried what he would do to me more so than what he thinks of me, because I honestly don't really give a damn to be honest about what people really think about me. Well, a little bit. But as far as like my race goes, not so much. I'd be like, okay. Unless it's like related to like me like getting involved in it, like me, some hate crime type of thing or something like, or some kind of lynching. I'd be I'd be like, okay, then I'd be kind of concerned. But other than that, not so much. Not stereotypical redneck, just a white trash dude. Yeah, that's exactly what it looked like, just with a very country accent too. So I'm like, yeah, but I'm not saying every country person is like that either. But I'm just like saying just that one individual guy. So that's my little story for that. But I probably do have to watch myself though, because it kind of reminds me, and this is going to be kind of a less funnier, darker story that I probably will share. But my cousin, so 4 years ago, my cousin actually got killed and stuff by this guy and stuff, black dude, at at the food court at the mall and stuff. I'm not actually they covered it on the news. I'm actually about to pull up the clip, but I'm gonna just tell the story real quick. So basically, like my cousin, my younger cousin, by the way, Darion. Darion. So how do I put this? So how we're related. So I have obviously my dad, and my dad has three siblings, two sisters, one brother, right? And my dad's brother, my uncle Tommy, he has a lot of daughters. Okay, um, and Darion is my uncle Tommy's grandson. So his mom is one of my first cousins, basically, right? So, anyways, so yeah, so Darion was kind of like in his 20s ish when he got killed and stuff like that, and his mom had just gotten pregnant again with his sister. So I mean, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like she was pregnant and she was about to have a like baby and stuff. And Darion was actually going to help raise her until unfortunately he got killed because he saw this guy at the food court that looked a little funny, and he kind of like snickered or whatever, and then the guy took it the wrong way, and then he approached my cousin. They were about to get into a fight, and then the next thing you know, this guy pulls a gun and shoots and kills my cousin just like that. So yeah, that was yeah, pretty messed up. But don't worry, they caught the guy, and he's arrested. He's in jail and all that. I don't remember what his sentence was, 40, maybe 50 years or something like that. But yeah, so I hope he's definitely getting punished to the full extent, if you know what I mean. Whatever they can do, whatever to him in jail, I condone it. But let me pull it up though. Let me pull up the little news clip.
First at 6, the shooting at the mall at Prince George's is now deadly.
Just in the last couple of minutes, we learned one man has been killed. Gunfire erupted inside the food court around 4 o'clock this afternoon.
3 to 4 years ago.
Jackie Benson's been gathering information this last hour, and she joins us live from the scene. Jackie, what's the latest there?
Well, you said the latest, that unfortunately, very, very sadly, this man, and I believe he's probably a fairly young man, possibly late teens, early 20s, did not survive his injuries. And you hope no one ever has to hear the sound we just heard seconds ago, which was his family members here learning of that information from police. What we do know from police, and we have a little video to show you what it looked like here. What we do know from police is that this was not an active shooter situation, that this was, according to witnesses that we spoke to, the result of some type of dispute that occurred near the food court. There was a shooting and people ran in absolute panic and chaos. I understand that a woman was injured during that time, that when the people were running away. Now, what I can also tell you is that the mall, or at least this section of the mall, is evacuated. Some people who were waiting to come and pick up family members spoke to us. People who are regulars at the mall. Here's what one woman had to say.
More security, beef up security, and people need to be aware of the surrounding, metal detector, whatever, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not against that either. They should have definitely have had that and checked people and stuff like that. I know it might sound like an extreme to some people and be like, oh, why you? Nah, yeah.
They need to. We need to be observers. I am one that I do observe, look around. As I go about my daily chores or whatever business I have to do, I always try to look around and see.
Now, the information that we're still awaiting from police, and we do not have information for you about this, is whether the shooter is still at large. We are trying to get more information about this shooting, this homicide, and we hope it is forthcoming. Live in Hyattsville, Jackie Benson, News 4. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Jackie. Continuing our team coverage now, let's get over to Brad Freitas. He's in Chopper 4. Brad, what kind of response have you seen since you arrived just after 4 o'clock?
Well, Dorian, that's right. We were first on scene shortly after 4 o'clock, and it was a massive response. And one of the things we noticed from up here in Chopper 4 was there was about half a dozen to 10 ambulances lined up on East-West Highway. Just a chilling scene. When you get a shooting
response, all people had to have my cousin of all, of all people though.
Response like this, you really don't know what you're getting into. So of course, authorities are going to throw everything they can at it, all the resources, until they figure out exactly what happened here. So the investigation now has shrunk down to the entrance of the mall near the Chipotle at the food court. And we've got a number of units still on the scene as they continue to investigate what happened here. This is Brad Freitas reporting live from high above the mall of Prince George's County. Back down to you guys.
All right. Thank you, Brad.
But yeah, but just a heads up, guys, in case you're ever in like my situation, or in my cousin's situation and stuff, just be a little mindful because you never know. People can do like crazy things over like very minuscule things. Like, because again, my cousin got killed because he snickered at a dude and then he felt some type of way and then decided in that moment to take my cousin's life. 20 something years of his life gone just like that. And he wasn't like, he was younger than me, definitely, but by a few years though, like probably like 2-3 years and stuff. So he was like, actually no way, he was 20 and I was like, this is 2022, so I was 23. So yeah. So just saying, like, yeah, like be a little bit careful with people like that because you never know, because they will probably like try to like kill you or feel like some type of way about stuff like that. Let me show you my cousin. This is an older picture of us, not a current one. Well, obviously not a current one. Yeah, that's us. This is me when I was like probably like 14 around that time. Yeah, I know. I look funny as hell with my little goggles, glasses on, and stuff like that. There are transitions, but yeah. But this is us at the pool. This is my cousin, the one that I said got killed and stuff like that. But yeah, and then this is my cousin Jay. Mike, Tom, Sharita. Mike, that's my dad's name. Tom, that's my uncle. His grandpa, and Sharita is his mom. One of my cousins. But yeah. But my dad sent me this picture when he told me the news about what happened to my cousin Darion. So, yep. So, yeah, pretty dark thing, like story about mine. You were born in 1999 or 2000s? Yeah, I was born in 1999. Definitely in the early 1999, March. Honestly, I can't imagine living in the U.S. considering if you sneeze, the police would assume you're pulling out a bomb. I don't know about that, Ashes. For me personally, I've lived in the United States my whole life. I'm not saying that the police are perfect. I'm not saying that it possibly can't ever happen, or whatever, because it probably could. But I've never dealt with anything with like the police or whatever, or gotten in any trouble and stuff. And I'm not saying it can't happen to anyone because it could. But yeah, I've personally never gotten in any kind of like trouble with law enforcement. I think the only time I might have gotten in trouble one time was when I was like riding on the train without like a ticket, and I just got on it for free, and then they caught me, and I was like, and they just like wrote me like a warning or something like that. But yeah, just don't like but don't like try to give them some kind of attitude and stuff like that. Then it'll or like try to press them and stuff, because you're gonna definitely that's not a good idea. I had a similar with my paternal cousin who killed when I was a baby. I don't remember him until I got older. Yikes. Yeah, we definitely have definitely family members that have definitely gone out in tragic ways. I've probably got other stories too about some of my other cousins and whatnot. But yeah, so that's pretty much that. So that's what I had to deal with that guy, and it kind of reminded me about that situation with my cousin. But that's but let's get that out of the way. So yeah, that's pretty much out the way. We'll probably talk about some of the more other fun stuff and whatnot. So that's pretty much been how my week has been. How has your guys' week been, Ashes, Taylor, or anyone that is watching the stream? But I actually wanted to talk about like what makes a successful movie, because as you guys saw from like my community tab post or whatever, I was saying like about the He-Man movie, and that I'm going to do a little bit of a review on it. It's not going to be more of a review, but I guess it's going to be more of like my thoughts, because I saw the movie last week, and I'm not going to lie to you, I thought the movie was actually all right. But right now, He-Man's not really doing too well in terms of like ticket sales and stuff like that, or box office wise. They're like, oh, it's underwhelming. They opened up not so modestly and stuff like that, and it's blase. So they're already writing off He-Man like it's like, oh well, yeah, He-Man sucked or whatever, or the or like it's not gonna be profitable like that. They're like, oh, the 80s nostalgia is worn off, which that's kind of the irony, because wasn't that Christopher Reeves around in the 80s and stuff, like literally people still, or the 70s really, and people still hold that to the highest standard. But then He-Man, who's a character that's been around the 80s and stuff, oh yeah, well it's gone now. You can't recapture Transformers, Ninja Turtles, GI Joe. Like, okay. I had a similar experience. I mistakenly thought my paternal. I think I already said that. Oh, I mistaken thought my paternal uncle, not cousin. My uncle was young when he was shot and killed. Sorry for the poor grammar in my text. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. And that reminds me too. Like my mom had a favorite cousin. I think it was my cousin Buster and stuff. This might have been way before I was born, but he got killed and they never found the guy. And my mom was pissed the fuck off that they never caught him or anything like that. But yeah, been dealing with the flu for the past couple of days. The moment my throat gets sore, it's a total game over. Oh, well, I hope you feel better. Yeah, I've been taking some vitamin C. My aunt's been having me take it and stuff like that because sometimes I'll be waking up with like a running nose and stuff like that. And I bought all these like tissues and stuff. So yeah, better not use my t-shirts or whatever that I sleep in. But yeah, tissues and stuff like that. I've been like using that again. It's been working out. It's definitely been working out. I mean, it beats definitely paper towels, I guess. But anyways, with the He-Man thing. But yeah, I'm like, it wasn't a bad movie. Like the CGI was good. The costumes were pretty good. Yeah, I know they race swapped Tila and Man at Arms and stuff. Man at Arms is played by Idris Elba, and then they made him like some kind of alcoholic, drunk bum kind of guy that like urinates on himself and throws up and everything. And yeah, it's like, yeah, that probably wasn't the way to go about it with Man at Arms. And Tila, I'm not gonna lie to you, they could have gotten a little bit more of a sexier actress. That's just my personal opinion. But I'm not gonna lie though, she had back. She definitely had some back. Um, and obviously they didn't go with the whole leotard choice and just went like a full like pants kind of thing or whatever. But I'm like, all right, well, it's not gonna eat me up or bother me that much, I guess, with that situation. But other than that though, I mean, but I'm just like, but the CGI and how some of the characters look like Beastman, Trapjaw, Battle Cat, Cringer, he looked great and stuff. The environments, the locations, all that stuff. Skeletor, they all look great in my personal opinion and stuff like that. But yeah, I understand too that like some of the stuff like about the feminism or about masculinity and stuff like that, or toxic masculinity was going around. Well, it's more so like kind of a union of both, where you can still be masculine and they're not like shaming you for it and stuff like that, because they're not trying to portray like Man at Arms or King Randor like they're in the wrong for like being tough on Adam and stuff like that, because they still are carrying like parents or trainers or mentors and stuff like that, but they're just a little bit more harsh or strict on Adam. And then Adam is like introduced to Earth, where there's another approach to going about that, where maybe we can probably talk things out. We could be a little bit more diplomatic. We could be a little bit, that's kind of where he was like, what they were trying to like go for, I guess. And in the end, like when Adam is like talking to Skeletor and he's like, Skeletor, how about we talk things out? And Skeletor is like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Talk things out? I'm Skeletor. What you mean? I got a skull for a face, bro. I'm trying to conquer eternity. What are you talking about? He's like, let's talk this out and stuff. Like, let's reach some kind of agreement or whatever and stuff like that. And Skeletor is like, nah, I'm gonna keep being evil. And then Adam's like, I've been holding back this whole time, right? And Skeletor's like, wait, what? And then Adam started to beat the crap out of Skeletor. That was hilarious for that ending and stuff. He was like, yeah. He was like, whoa. Oh, you know what? Maybe we can talk after all. Nah, too late. Then he killed Skeletor. That was crazy, man. And then it was cool too. They also had like a little post-credit scene where they were also going to have She-Ra, which that would have been cool too, to have like She-Ra. Well, not in this movie, but like, if they could get to like a sequel and stuff, they were thinking about it. And it's been a minute since they had She-Ra and He-Man crossover and stuff, because He-Man and She-Ra, they're like siblings. They're twins and all that, but they were separated around like when they were infants, like when they were babies and stuff, like because Skeletor and Hordak kidnapped Adora, and then Adora got indoctrinated into the Horde and became a Force captain And then thanks to Adam and stuff, he got her away from all that and like, told her real origin and her, what really happened and stuff like that. And then she eventually became She-Ra and stuff with the, with her own sword and everything. So, yeah, at least Tila in the movie is not a full Kevin Smith version from the anime show. Yeah, she's definitely not. Like, I'm fine with how Tila was. I saw Nerd Culture's is Toxic's little review about He-Man, but I think he unlisted it and doesn't realize it, because if you go to his community post, you can like literally watch his video, because it's not there on his channel for whatever reason, because I guess he didn't like how it looked or whatever. So like, I mean, well, because he got his thing on some kind of video loop or something like that, where he's just like, I don't know, but you can still hear the audio and all that stuff pretty fine. But anyways, he was like, oh, well, I think Tila and Evil Lynn were there for too long and they were annoying and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Tila and Evil Lynn were in the movie for that long and they were annoying? Are you serious? No, they were in it a fair amount of times, but hey, you don't like female characters, so it is what it is. Even though Evil Lynn, personally myself, now I will say with the movie though, Skeletor. Now I know a little bit about He-Man lore. I'm actually invested in getting to know more of it. Actually, I've been ever since like, and I hate to really say it, but since like the 2019 She-Ra, because I actually used to watch that show. Yes, I used to watch the 2019 She-Ra. That's what kind of got me a little bit into both She-Ra and He-Man and stuff. I do remember vaguely the 2002 He-Man show, but it got canceled a long time ago. So yeah, and it wasn't really talked about much after the fact. But in the 2019, I watched She-Ra because Voltron was Voltron was such a big thing and stuff, and then Voltron had ended, and I was like, you know what, I think She-Ra was going to be the new big thing, so I'll check it out. I checked it out. Me and some of my friends, we liked it stuff at the time, and now that I'm a little bit older and stuff, I'm like, you know what, that show was it's really hard to look back on that show now after everything. But it has some interesting ideas and concepts that I feel like it didn't exactly explore with the original She-Ra show, because I did go back and rewatch the original She-Ra show and stuff like that to kind of, get a little bit of reference of everything. So there were some things that I'm like, okay, this is an interesting concept, but a lot of it is like, all right, some of it is also kind of fan fiction-y too at the same time. But that's what got me into He-Man a little bit in recent years. So I went and checked out He-Man, and then the He-Man 2002 cartoon. I watched that, like full on, really great stuff, But yeah. Let me read some of these comments. Need to watch the 2002 He-Man movie. Now that you remind me of that, yeah, definitely check that out. She-Ra Netflix is now dead in the water. Yes, it is. I know. Now we need the Thundercats movie, but more inspired from the 2011 show. Yes, we do. Because right now they do have a Thundercats comic from Dynamite Comics and stuff. And I'm not going to lie to you, when it comes to Dynamite Comics, I don't think, well, I was buying some of the Thundercats comics from Dynamite, but my main issue with it, like I have two main issues. First off, the artwork looks ugly. Okay. The exteriors look great, the covers and all that. They can get all these cover artists and stuff on it, but you can't get a single one to work on the interiors and the books and stuff to actually put out some good art, because the art looks just, I don't know, it looks kind of gross to me. And then on top of that, it's very short, like a very short story. Like I don't know where it's going. I don't know what they're trying to do, like whatever, So yeah, we definitely need something like the resurgence, kind of like the 2011 cartoon, most definitely. She-Ra Netflix made gayer and had an overweight sidekick in the black femboy arrow boy, and made She-Ra a feminist lesbian. Yeah, but like I said, I used to like it a little bit back then. But yeah, but don't get me wrong, I do realize the flaws in it now, most definitely. So I'm not gonna deny it. Thundercats 2011 is the best version. She-Ra Netflix version is very tragic. They canceled after season 2 by CNN due to toy sales. Same with Symbiotic Titan. Yes, yeah, that is true. Yeah, because of toy sales and stuff like that, which that's kind of something I also wanted to kind of go a little bit deeper with the movie stuff and what makes a successful movie and all that. But yeah, but with this He-Man thing though, so where was I at? Oh yeah, Evil Lynn. Yeah, I was like, well, because I've been looking into some of He-Man's lore and stuff, and to be honest with you, how Skeletor was treating Evil Lyn in that movie, and I'm not saying I have a problem with like, oh, the bad guy's doing bad things and he's abusive and stuff, or anything crazy, but Skeletor would never put his hands like that on Evil Lyn, unless Evil Lyn had did something to him per se, because like unlike all of like Skeletor's other like minions, whether it be Beastman, Trapjaw, Merman, like all those guys, Skeletor has no problem doing that type of stuff to them. But to Evil Lyn, that's a different story because Evil Lyn is second to him in terms of power, right? So Skeletor, even though he is more powerful than Evil Lyn, she has more potential to like surpass him eventually. Hang on. Anyways, I am back. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, Evil Lyn. Evil Lyn is such a valuable like asset to Skeletor that he wouldn't Skeletor even in like the more serious comics and stuff like that. Skeletor would never do something to betray Evil Lyn unless unless she betrayed him first or something crazy. But because he needs her, like he really needs her, like because she's that, like I said, that vital and that powerful and stuff like that. She's second to him in terms of sorcery, where Skeletor had, he had seduced her to like have her like work for him and stuff like that or whatever, that he would like train her in like sorcery and all that, but she has the like more potential to surpass even him. That's the thing. So and even like if you watch the 2002 He-Man cartoon, like Evil Lyn was even aware of that, and sometimes like she did betray Skeletor. Remember like that guy, like the other villain, Lord Hiss and stuff. He's another He-Man villain and stuff. He's a much more major threat than even Skeletor. Like Evil Lyn literally like was getting tired of Skeletor and then betrayed him for like Lord Hiss and stuff. And Skeletor was like literally at their mercy and stuff like that because of Evil Lyn and her betrayal. So I'm like, all right, well, Skeletor, you better dial it down with that abusive stuff or that the slapstick stuff on Evil Lyn, or she's gonna stab him in the back, before he knows it. But yeah. Anyways, toy sales is dumb, justifying move over best shows. Well, it's not really dumb, but think of it like this: we all watch TV and stuff like that for free, right? But in order for like the animators and for like the the voice actors and all of them to get like to kind of get paid, you kind of also need to kind of like the shows are meant for promotion to kind of like sell the toys and stuff like that. Like think back to like some of the old '90s shows. Like let's take I guess Avengers United They Stand is a show that comes to mind. That old Avengers show, the very first Avengers show, by the way. And it was actually a part of that Marvel animated universe up there with Spider-Man the animated series, Fantastic Four, Incredible Hulk, X-Men, the animated series, all that stuff. It was part of the same universe, just a little bit more later down the timeline, I guess. But anyways, Avengers United They Stand was like a show that was clearly made to kind of sell toys because every episode they always introduced like new designs or outfits for like the characters to kind of wear and stuff. And then they'd be like, "Oh yeah, here's a toy that you can get for it or whatever." You know what I mean? Like of that was in that exact episode. you know, that's the whole purpose of that whole thing. Ooh, XE Kid, you brought up something else interesting. What are your thoughts on Shine Comics and Dome Blazer situation or Doom Blazer situation? I don't know. I don't know what Shine Comics is doing with the Dome Blazer situation. I don't really. I'm not subscribed to Shine anymore. I've been kind of on and off when it comes to his content sometimes, and then especially the last time when he was talking about, oh well, Billy Butcher can beat Superman. Superman can't fight, and I kind of forgot to mention too that I'm like, like literally in the Reign of Superman and stuff, like where Superman came back to life, and I think for a bit he was powerless and stuff. He was still up there, like fighting alongside with Superboy, Steel, uh, and the Eradicator, I think, or the last son of Krypton. He calls himself. That's another name for him to fight against Cyborg Superman and Mongol because he had, and probably Green Lantern too, Hal Jordan. And he was fighting with like guns, like Superman himself was like literally fighting with guns and stuff, and had that cool Matrix suit on. So I'm like, what do you mean he can't fight? Okay, it's kind of almost mandatory that most superheroes know how to fight, you know. But anyway, speaking of Dynamite, right now Ben 10 run just doesn't click with me. It feels like they focus more on realistic transformations than the story, even though the original show had graphic ones too. Yeah, sounds like the recipe that they're using for Absolute Batman, just like with Ben 10. Yeah, I just saw like issue 2, I think, at the comic book store. Yeah, they're kind of they're kind of wasting a lot of time on that. Because we're like running the first episode where like of Ben 10 where like Ben gets to watch and stuff, and they're at the camp, and Ben almost like as heat blasts accidentally starts a forest fire and stuff like that, and then he tells Grandpa Max and Gwen about the Omnitrix and stuff, and then one of like Vilgax's drones is like sent after him to kind of recover it and stuff like that. Yeah, they were able to get all that done just like that in one whole episode, but yet it takes them like oh, they're on the second issue and they're still not past that and like that one part yet. Okay, sure. So that's my problem with like Dynamite is like their pacing is like horrible and their artwork is just isn't all that great either. But yeah, with the Ben 10 stuff, it's probably just done a lot of shock value stuff. I'm like even Cannonbolt, which I used to like Cannonbolt. Cannonbolt used to be one of my favorite aliens when they introduced them and stuff. Because remember, like Ben used to just have just straight up just 10 aliens, and then he lost Ghost Freak. So Cannonbolt was added into the mix and stuff. I thought Cannonbolt was kind of cool. He had a cool design and stuff. It was kind of funny, like where Ben was trying to figure out what exactly does this alien does in particular. He's not super strong. He's not super fast, or he's not, So what does he got? And then he does that little spin dash thing like Sonic and all that stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, Cannonbolt he used to be pretty cool back in the day. But yeah, one part when Prince Adam got stabbed and Evil Lyn is back to villainy again. Yeah, that was such a random like thing. Because in that Kevin Smith cartoon, they made like Evil Lyn kind of like Skeletor is kind of Harley Quinn, because Kevin Smith is a huge fan of like Batman the animated series, and it was even to the point where Kevin Smith even named his own daughter Harley, Harley based off of Harley Quinn. Crazy enough, but yeah, he made Evil Lyn kind of like a Harley Quinn to like Skeletor's Joker, and I'm like, that's not the relationship that they have, as far as I know. I don't think Evil Lyn is like in love with Skeletor like that. No, they're just mutually using each other, for their own benefit and stuff. Like they're not like that. They weren't like that in the '80s one, and they definitely weren't like that in the 2002 cartoon, as far as I'm aware, unless I'm missing something, right? So that was so weird. You're going to do a review on the Dynamite version of Ben 10? No, I have not read it. Fair Sympathetic Black Queen. I'm not going to do a review on it. I'm not sure if I would do. Well, I mean, I will continue to, of course, do comic book reviews whenever I feel like it, I guess. But I'm just not really interested in reading the Ben 10 one, though. But that's just me. because I just don't see that. Like, what's the point? Like, yeah, imagine having graphic transformations and some of the worst aliens from Alien Force and Omniverse. Oof, yeah. You imagine like Goop, Chroma Stone. Although I do like the designs of those characters, or like even in like Alien Force and and all that. Because I know a lot of people prefer the original Ben 10 because that's what like that was their introduction, and it was my introduction too to Ben 10, of course. But I kind of like Alien Force a lot more than I like the original series and stuff because like Ben was growing up and he was maturing and stuff like that, and I just liked it, like not only just him but also the characters like Kevin and stuff. I was like, I never would have guessed Kevin, would like have a change of heart and would become something more than just Ben's arch rival and stuff. And this same thing like with the like with the Zuko redemption thing, but yeah, but Kevin like with Kevin Levin and stuff. And now I wouldn't have guessed him and Gwen would be a thing too, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like a lot of stuff. Like just with Ben's and Alien Force. Body horror level with Ben 10. I don't blame you, but yeah. But going back to He-Man though, with that movie. But yeah, the movie wasn't bad. I didn't like. I saw it last week, but I didn't want to like stream about it and like spoil things for you guys or anything. But yeah. But yeah, it's a pretty simple movie for the most part. Adam definitely did not spend a whole lot of time on Earth. Probably like 25 minutes tops, where it kind of opens up. Well, not opens up where he's on Earth, but like it spends a good time on like Eternia, and then Adam, after like him like after his childhood and stuff like that, he kind of goes into like he's on a date with a girl talking about like his like childhood and like everything that led up to this moment of Eternia, and then people start thinking he's all crazy and stuff like that, and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go, and I'm going to myself like, you don't do that on a date, Adam. Like, what were you thinking? But I don't know. But the movie, one of the problems with the movie though, with the movie is that they do too many like jokes and stuff. Like, yeah, like they're trying really hard to like do jokes and stuff like that, and I'm just like, don't really like it and stuff. It's like that's the same problem with the MCU and stuff, like with those Thor movies, or currently right now with the Superman stuff or the DCU and stuff. Hell, the Supergirl thing is continuing to keep getting more flag because I heard something about Supergirl now eating poop or something. Like, why, why would you think people want to watch that shit? But of course, you got idiots defending that, talking about, oh yeah, this is going to be comic book accurate, or it's more accurate to the character. No, it's not. Shut up. Like, shut up. Like, you want to watch that? You really do? Oh, okay, bet. Or like, the constant disrespect to these characters and stuff. Hell, this morning I just got into an argument with some guy that was like, okay, so I was saying how ridiculous it is for like Supergirl to catch a space bus to go to another planet. Like when Earth all of a sudden set up an intergalactic bus system, right? And then this guy is like, well, she don't got her powers and stuff on a red sun. You're not listening to me. A space bus. That is so stupid. Okay? You're not getting me. That's stupid. Like, why are you continuing to keep making these things into comedies? I don't get that. But with He-Man though, yeah, it's a little bit like that too with the jokes. But outside of that, I mean, like I said, I think it's all right as far as like the looks, the aesthetics, the atmosphere. I feel like they really definitely did put a lot of time and work into it. The budget for it, I think, was like $200 million. So I don't think that's not like a crazy Marvel DC kind of budget or anything. So right now they're at I mean, last time I heard or checked the score, I think they had 25 million. So they definitely need to make 10 times more than just that, or at least 20, hopefully. But we'll see. We'll have to wait and see though. But I'm not really trying to watch a lot of the people that are dunking on it and stuff like that. Like, I don't know if 4KO or Derek Anderson were, because I usually watch their videos and stuff, but I don't know if they're dunking on it personally. But I'm just not like, yeah, because I actually like I want to like the He-Man movie, so I don't want like to hear negative press about it too much like that. Anyways, Alien Force aliens are solid, but some of the Omniverse redesigns like Big Chill are hideous. No offense to Derek Wyatt. Yeah, Omniverse. Well, I'm not gonna lie to you. I kind of regret not watching Omniverse when it came out to a degree. But let me search up what Omniverse Big Chill looked like because it's been a while. Oh yeah, that is pretty bad. Why they give him such a bulky design? Like I don't get that. Like Big Chill doesn't have like super strength like that. He's just he's kind of like a ghost moth type character that just like uses intangibility and flight and cryokinesis. That's really about it. But okay, cool. But yeah. But yeah, with He-Man though, yeah, um, I do hope that we can definitely do better. But I think some of the things, the missing things to like, well, and I guess that's how I feel about with reactionaries and stuff for the most part, because I feel like a lot of like reactionaries on YouTube and stuff are like so disingenuous, which is why I have my channel. Which I'm not saying I'm the most I'm the most genuine YouTuber out there. I just don't like to have a certain narrative. If I have a take on something, I'll just I'll literally like share with you guys my thoughts, or put out a piece of my mind, and maybe it could probably influence or persuade somebody else otherwise, or see my kind of point of view. I guess that's the whole purpose of a little bit about my channel and why I like to put out my thoughts, even though I know a lot of my opinions might be very differing, or I like to go against the grain, or I or I like to break from the mold sometimes, because sometimes a lot of this stuff doesn't really seem like it's with nuance or actual like critiques. It just seems like, okay, well, everybody's just on that hate wagon. That's just how I personally feel. Because right now, like I'm gonna use Jester Bell for example, right? Uh, I used to follow Jester Bell not too long ago, but I just unsubscribed to her because I saw her video on Gal Gadot, and I'm like, why are you doing a video out of nowhere about Gal Gadot? Like, what has Gal Gadot done? Or whatever, because it's not like she's a problematic actress or anything. She's a great actress, or she's a she's a likable actress and stuff like that. Is she the best actress around? Not really. I mean, I think she's okay. Like, I don't think she's horrible as everybody's trying to make it seem like she is, because they take a few lines of dialogue out of context, or be like, "Hello, no, okay, so she said that one line." But here's the thing about a lot of people, when they when they talk about acting and stuff, I'm like, okay, you guys can talk about the line delivery all you want, but it's also the physical performance about it that also matters. And Gal Gadot definitely did bring the physical like performance to the role, because she was in like the Israel like military and stuff. Like, you're not going to talk about the time where like Gal Gadot was like pregnant during like Wonder Woman during the movie and stuff like that, and she was still kicking ass, still like like yeah, and nearly like almost had like lost her life and stuff like that, but she was still like she still kept going and pushed past that. Isn't that not kind of a little bit inspiring? Or like what else? Or like, and even though I know it's not a good movie, but Wonder Woman 1984, didn't she not like I know a lot of people are talking about that one clip with her and Maxwell Lord, but they're not going to talk about this one scene where like Wonder Woman had like renounced her wish on Steve Trevor, and then Patty Jenkins went like she was actually proud of this scene where like she wanted Gal to like run, and like she was like, Gal is such a fast runner and stuff like that, and Gal started to run as like Wonder Woman and stuff. She was running like crazy. I was like, damn, she's moving like the damn like Jonathan Majors, like the damn Flash. Like, yeah, I was like, okay. But that's the thing though, is like a lot of people tend to forget that acting is more than just line deliveries, and on top of that, Gal Gadot has a freaking accent too. So what are you gonna do and stuff. But I bet you, like, yeah, and it's weird too because they're trying to pin this whole Snow White thing on her or whatever. I don't know. And the funny thing is, Jester Bell is like, I didn't even watch the like a lot of the movies she was in. I just watched clips. Really? So you're doing a breakdown on Gal Gadot. You didn't watch her movies, but you're watching clips. Then she was also complaining too about her being like she's trying to be too much like Wonder Woman and stuff like that, because she called Brie Larson a sister. So I'm like, oh, okay, so now it's a problem for actors and actresses to like, I don't know, try to be good role models for like children or for the people in general and stuff, like, because I don't remember like that criticism against guys like Christopher Reeves or Henry Cavill. Oh, they're trying to be too much like Superman. You mean be a positive role model? I mean, it beats Ezra Miller, right? I'd rather Gal Gadot be like a Wonder Woman than be like freaking Ezra Miller, this dude who done a lot of terrible things, drugs, child endangerment. Um, I'm like, yeah, clearly there's a difference, but I don't know. So it just, to me, Jessica Bell's video that she did on Gal Gadot just felt kind of catty to me, and it's also kind of messed up a little bit because Gal Gadot's kind of like she's an immigrant from another country, and it just feels kind of weird to like that you're just attacking her in her acting career, in my personal opinion. I know other people would do it and stuff like that, but I'm just like, it kind of just makes you like feel like, damn, you really just want to chase other people outside of our country, or it kind of feels a little xenophobic if you were to ask me. But that's just my personal opinion. Let me check out what Ashes is saying here. I feel like Melanie Mac sucks even as a grifter now, and I'm glad all her fellow simps can't help her either. Right wing defenders are more pathetic than woke activists, in my opinion. I can't blame you. And the funny thing is, I actually checked back on Melanie Mac's channel because I was like, I wonder if she like has she uploaded. Like I think I checked like last month, like on like what like has she uploaded on her channel, and she hasn't uploaded it in a minute. Besides, I guess this one video where she was saying like, oh well, things have been I don't know dead or whatever and stuff like that. And that's the thing with some of these guys that are in the anti woke side of things, which I'm not saying that you got to be anti woke or woke or whatever. Whatever side you choose, whatever you please, do whatever you please. But some of these people, I don't know. It's like a drug sometimes. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I wasn't like a little bit lost in the sauce too, but over time it gets a little bit repetitive, and people just want to fight just to fight and not really have any kind of solutions. They just want to stay mad and stuff like that. Kind of like Geeks and Gamers or Ryan Kendall and stuff. I used to follow them, but I kind of unsubscribed from their channels because I just got tired of hearing the same old, like, just them just trying to start outrage and stuff like that. I mean, I wish them all the success in the world and they seem like decent people, but it's just like, all right, you guys are going on these tangents and stuff and tirades. But again, like I've heard this song and dance before. What about some actual solutions here? Why can't you guys you guys are friends with Eric July and stuff. Why not do something like what he's doing? Not exactly what he's doing, like you got to get into comics, but you can do something as equal, something a little bit more constructive to counteract wokeness, in my personal opinion, right? Like right now, it's Pride Month, right? It's literally June and stuff. And usually for June, when it comes to Pride Month, for me personally, I'm not going to do this whole anti-LGBT thing or whatever. No, I'm going to be like, all right, well, I'm going to take pride in being a straight man, and I'm going to be like, all right, well, try to self-improve or be constructive and stuff. I'm not going to like try to tear down all the time and stuff like that. Not all the time, but I will do it here and there. I feel like Just About does videos on autopilot. She feels dead inside despite trying to milk the heck out of Marvel and DC. Yeah, sometimes I feel like, yeah, she's just a little bit of a reactionary and doesn't really think things out sometimes. I mean, some of her takes I can kind of agree with, like, all right, fine, her take on the whole Harley Quinn thing and Poison Ivy, because she was like, oh, Harley Quinn's my favorite character, or it used to be my favorite character, but then modern writing kind of ruined her, and it Poison Ivy too and stuff like that, and blase. So I can understand, like, okay, Melanie Mac is nothing but a crazy, sexy e-girl nun who hated boobs and butts in video games. Yeah, we all know she kind of contradicted herself there, where she was like, batting for a lot of this stuff, like, yeah, but then all of a sudden she's like, oh, this is Gooner, I don't like it, and stuff like that. It's one thing to not like it, but then don't sit up in here and try to be like, you know what I mean? Because it just, again, it's a contradiction, or it's hypocritical. Not whatever why companies keep pushing LGBT stuff, as I see some LGBT don't buy rainbow stuff from them, which ironically sees. Yeah, that is true. Well, actually, nah, some of them do, because I do live around. So let's say some people, and I have a family, like I have like maybe, I have a family member that is LGBT and all that stuff, and she is a little bit into some of that stuff too, of course. But I'm just like, all right, great. So they might wear the shirts or whatever, flag or whatever, and it's like, so I had to deal with that. But it is what it is. I'm like, I just like keep to myself on that. I'm just I'm not a fan, or I just make fun of it from a distance. That's just how I am. But anyways, so yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So, and then it's kind of like rat poison for some of these movies and stuff. But what I think can definitely make a successful movie, which I know I kind of derailed away from the subject, is like, you probably could use some stuff like some actual like maybe songs or something. Because you know how like back in the day, like a lot of like like a lot of movies used to have like a lot of exclusive type of songs and stuff, especially superhero movies. like the first Spider-Man. The first Spider-Man was pretty big when it came out, of course, because you had somebody like Spider-Man web slinging and stuff like that. You had cool action, the costumes and stuff looked great. Um, obviously the CGI and stuff like that. It's a little bit, yeah. We can kind of see like, oh, okay, that's a little bit, yeah, a little bit fake now and stuff like that. Or clearly it was always fake, but just okay, I can kind of see it because it was made like 20 something years ago. But still, but they also had movie exclusive songs. Like the first Spider-Man had Nickelback. You know, that was a very popular band back in the day, and they played. They had that song Hero and stuff, and they did like a movie. Like not a movie. They did a music video of like a compilation of some scenes from Spider-Man, and they had Hero and stuff as they were playing it, and like Spider-Man rescuing like Mary Jane and all that. Yeah, that's something that can kind of get people hyped up. Or like let's say Daredevil. I love that Daredevil movie. That's just a 3 Daredevil movie. They had a lot of great songs too. They had "Bring Me to Life." That was in one of the trailers. Evanescence and stuff. And of course, when Elektra was, her little training montage and stuff like that. How can you see into my eye? I mean, my soul like open doors, leading you down into my core. Come so no. Okay, I don't know all the lyrics, but you get the point. Yeah, but Evanescence. They also had Fuel. Won't back down. I won't back down. I will not back down. Or other stuff. Boasting right before your eyes. Yeah, that was the song they played for like Matt Murdock's training compilation when he was with his dad and stuff like that. He was a kid and he was testing out his abilities. Or I think what was it? Rob Zombie, Drowning Pool. They had The Man Without Fear. You can't stop me. Cha cha cha, Daredevil. Cha cha cha, Daredevil. All that stuff. So yeah, and then of course we were just talking about Ben 10 a second ago, and remember like I know a lot of people probably aren't fans or fond of like the Ben 10 movies and stuff, the live action movies. Alien Swarm though was pretty solid, and the CGI for both for the transformation stuff looked great. Looking back on Race Against Time, I remember I was hyped about watching that as a kid, but now that I'm an adult and stuff, I was like, yeah, I see the I see I see the layers there, the broken layers. But remember, Alien Swarm had just a little faster by Therefore Tomorrow and stuff. And that was a man. I listen to that song every now and then. It's been a minute. I can't remember all the lyrics, but yeah, just a little faster. It's very half or rare. That's my opinion. Not related to any of the stuff. Rewatch Sonic X and your videos on it, but holy shit, I like Son 80. But this version made me think as toxic as Peter and Mary Jane President as healthy. Yikes! I mean, Son 80 inside Sonic X has its highs and lows inside Sonic X. More highs in my opinion than lows. Yeah, maybe some moments. I guess a lot of people probably weren't fans of like that fortune teller episode or whatever. From like season 3 where like Amy was trying to like get her fortune from like anybody and was trying to be like, do you see me and Sonic be ending up together? And she never really got it. But then Tails and Cosmo had stolen Amy's thing, and Amy was pissed off and was like, God damn it. Tails and Cosmo stole me and Sonic's moment and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I get it, but yeah, but I think Amy's had a lot of good episodes too, and good moments with Sonic and stuff, as I kind of pointed out in some of my videos from back then. Which I kind of do feel like talking about Amy at some point. Again, it's been a while since I've really done any like Sonic topics and stuff, because I saw this one guy talk about like Amy and stuff. And it was like, well, Amy used to be a damsel in distress, or it's terrible that her character is like her personality is tied to Sonic. Not really. I don't think that's such a bad thing, but I'm not going to go into that much detail right now. But let me get back on my topic. So, yeah, I think they definitely need more movie exclusive stuff. Like Punisher that had Step Up, Step Up, Step Up. With Drowning Pool. Batman Forever had like Kiss from a Rose and stuff by Seal, and they also had Hold Me, Kiss Me, and Thrill Me by UT. I mean, U2 and stuff, Batman Forever, or like, Party Mayhem. Of course, Prince had worked on the Batman 1989 soundtrack. Or going into, again, more recent years, you got, Sonic and stuff. Sonic has stuff like Speed Me Up. Yeah, I like to listen to Speed Me Up. It's a good song. Stars in the Sky, that's by Kid Cudi. I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't really listen to Stars in the Sky that much. To be honest, I do like Speed Me Up though, because yeah, especially when I be running and stuff, because I like to go on my little morning runs. Yeah, Speed Me Up is I love listening to that while I'm running. Speed Me Up, best friend, best friend named Tails, grinding on rails. But anyways, and then of course the third movie had Live and Learn, and they probably had something else too. But of course, come on, Live and Learn. How can you not? you know. But yeah, and then Zootopia, they had stuff like try everything, or Zoo ooh, ooh, Zoo by Shakira, which I guess that's probably why it took so long for like Zootopia 2 to come out, because it's a 9 year gap between the movie releases, and I guess they had to make sure that they had to like free up everybody's schedules, because Idris Elba plays the police chief and stuff like that, and then you also had like Shakira, who like does the music and stuff, and she plays as what you call it, as Gazelle and whatnot, who's a famous pop star inside the Zootopia universe. So of course, so I guess yeah, some of those are like reasonings as to why they can't just like automatically make a Zootopia in like a few years or something like that, And then on top of that, they got to make sure the animation's right too and all that. Yeah, so it's a lot. I get it, but both Zootopias 1 and 2 have made $1 billion, right? Because it had that kind of influence. Or like Miles Morales, you had like What's Up Danger and stuff. That's a really popular thing. Like What's Up Danger and stuff with like Into the Spider Verse, or you had Am I Dreaming into Across the Spider Verse, or like going to my personal examples with Ninja Turtles, you had stuff like Turtle Power by like Rhapsody and Partners in Crime. TURTLT Power, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtle Power. Yeah, you get the idea. Or like the second movie, they had that that ninja rap by Vanilla Ice. Go ninja, go ninja, go ninja, go ninja, go. Yeah. So I'm just saying, like a lot of movie, like if they had more like movie exclusive kind of songs, or did like more music videos, like back in the day, and just had like a compilation of clips for like a certain movie, whether it be animated or not, then I think that can definitely push the like a movie a lot more. Like, so imagine like He-Man and stuff. Like they hire like a musician or somebody, like a modern day musician or somebody that does music and stuff, to just make a music video and just use clips from like the He-Man movie. I think He-Man could probably do better promotion wise, and then it wouldn't hurt too to also like do other things, like other promotion things. Like I've talked before about video games and stuff can help. Cartoons, which they don't have a current He-Man cartoon out. They did have the free comic book day, and like sort of a run going on with He-Man, but you need a little bit more than just that, though. Of course, back in the day with Spider-Man 3, and so I know a lot of people don't like Spider-Man 3 like that, but I remember back in the day, like me and the boys and stuff. I used to go to an old boys' school when Spider-Man 3 came out, and like people, we were like we were looking forward to Spider-Man 3, and we liked it at the time. I remember like the little prizes that came in the little cereal box and all that stuff. Yeah, like they had prizes and stuff like that. Yeah, they need to bring some of that stuff back to kind of get some of these like movies a little bit of a boost, if you were to ask me. But anyways, let me read these comments. I know you guys are blowing up my thing. You celebrate Juneteenth. I'm not gonna lie to you, fierce sympathetic black queen. I keep forgetting about Juneteenth sometimes. I'm not gonna lie to you. But yeah, my family does celebrate it though. Sometimes I just be like, all right, well, I guess I'm alone for the celebration if I am, but I'm not, But I'm like me personally, like I said, I do tend to forget it sometimes. And black like me, we don't never hear of them. I'd rather celebrate Black History Month. Yeah, that's great too to celebrate Black History Month. But just celebrate, I guess, whenever you can, I suppose. I had a question. Have you watched Transformers Prime? Let me see. Let me type it up. Transformers Prime. because I'm not a diehard Transformers fan. I used to watch the movies. I used to watch some of the cartoons. No, I don't think I've seen Transformers Prime before, but that does remind me of that one Transformers the animated series with that one redheaded girl. Uh, yep, Transformers animated. Yeah, because I remember that show came out when what's his face with the Michael Bay Transformers stuff that came out. And then outside of that, I definitely remember those Transformers animes when I was a little kid and stuff like that. I just got like a DVD a few months ago. Um, I think back in April ish. No, probably way before that actually. Maybe back in October. Um, Transformers Energon is stuff. Which yeah, Transformers Prime is available on Tubi, and you had Tubi. My family might have Tubi. I don't. Yeah, I think we do. But I probably don't watch them enough. If Cosmo's alive, she would repopulate her race with Tails and someone. There's a thought. I mean, both Sonic and Amy were more often towards each other. Like, remember in the one episode ending where Sonic just made Amy fall in the mud? The ending with the flower just doesn't convince me. I don't remember the mud thing though. You might have to like kind of have to remind me about that. Also, I think people who trash Archie romance should have watched Ben 10 and have forced the writers tried to make an endless triangle as the point it became a comedy. Yeah, they definitely did make a lot of love triangles in the Archie comics. And I'm not saying I had never thought that Sonic and Sally's relationship wasn't good at all. I just got like when I was okay, because I was a fan of it at one point, even more so than Son Amy or even before like I would say when did I become a Son Amy fan? I think I became a Son Amy fan when I was like 15 ish. Yeah, when I was 15. And that's when the Archie comics was like online and stuff. So I started reading the Archie comics. But over time I kind of got tired of like Sonic and Sally instead of being a couple. Or, great, cool, nice seeing them like grow up, get married, have kids. Cool. But let's see that with Sonic and Amy and stuff. Amy feels like a more loyal and a more interesting and better love interest, in my personal opinion, than Sally does. And I feel like she kind of earned it or deserved it more so than Sally. That's not to say that Sally isn't a good character. That's not saying that her and Sonic don't have a good dynamic. I just like Sonic and Amy's dynamic a little bit more than I like, Sonic's dynamic with Sally. And I feel like a lot of people tend to misinterpret like a lot of this stuff inside like I guess the Japanese stuff in general with Amy because when you really think about it, Sally is more of like the Western American counterpart for like Sonic's love interest, while Amy was originally like Sonic's Eastern, Japanese counterpart for Sonic, if that makes any sense. So up there, Amy was a little bit more known in the East, whereas down here, a lot of people knew Sally a little bit more because the cartoons and everything. And even in like the Sonic CD manual and stuff, they called Amy. They called Sally. I mean, they called Amy Princess Sally. So yeah, me too. I forgot Juneteenth. Yeah, like I said, it's not Juneteenth isn't really that important to me like that, and I tend to like literally forget it. Like I mean, I do know what it's about. It's about celebrating the last time about slavery and stuff like that. That these people who were slaves the whole time didn't even know that slavery had ended and stuff. So that they just chose that day to celebrate Juneteenth. But I literally forget it myself, so I'm not. Yeah, I recommend watching Transformers Prime. I'll probably check it out. I really need to get into Transformers though. I watched it with my brother. Nice. Sun Alley is a good ship, but to me, Sally and Monkey Kong had a better chemistry. Too bad. Yeah, that's actually who I ship Sally with now. I know I said before in some of my videos that I preferred her with Nicole, but after all this stuff that I've kind of said and talked about and stuff like with the whole Sally Nicole thing, or with other stuff like a little similar to that situation, yeah, it makes sense for Sally to be with Monkey Kong, in my personal opinion, than with Nicole, and as an alternative to Sonic, in my personal opinion. So, yeah. But anyways, what are some other movie ideas? But yeah, and of course, movies always have like they need an actor and stuff to be like a draw. So of course, you have people like your Keanu Reeves, your Tom Cruise and stuff, or Arnold Schwarzenegger. So if you're looking for like some kind of like action movie and stuff like that, they're your best guys. Or like Will Smith, which Will Smith is a good jack of all trades, usually for comedy, but whether it be action sometimes or comedy, drama, or whatever, Will Smith's your guy. Dwayne the Rock Johnson, of course, the Rock. I'm not saying that the Rock's movies are all bad, but it's kind of like average to me. But the Rock, you'll get a decent action scene for the most part. Or of course, you got Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt, Michael B. Jordan, which a lot of people want to clown on Michael B. Jordan, but let's be honest, Michael B. Jordan is actually a really good draw, in my personal opinion, and stuff. Like, of course, you got Creed, which I know a lot of people don't really feel Creed, but then Sinners kind of proved everything wrong about that. What else about Michael B. Jordan? And then, honestly, in the Black Panther movies and stuff, Michael B. Jordan is kind of the one that sometimes, even though his character Killmonger doesn't really seem all that well written when you really look at it on the surface level, but or look beyond the surface level, but Michael B. Jordan just has that charisma though, to just execute it. So I'm just saying, like, yeah, I think he's a lot more talented than what people kind of like tend to give him credit for and stuff like that. Oh, he's just attractive. He's just handsome. Well, like if that works for the ladies, then it works, Like, then you got people like Zendaya, Pedro Pascal, Amber Heard, Aquafina. I feel like they're kind of like more so industry plants where they're just there to kind of like, be like, they're this big star and stuff. Are they though? Are they really that good? I mean, they have some good moments, but I wouldn't say they're that good or they're that appealing or that, like recognizable, if you were to ask me, But it just seems like they're just being a little bit pushed. I mean, but you also got guys like Idris Elba, Denzel Washington, Morgan Freeman, so on and so forth. Like those are, those guys are like draws to like a certain like movie and stuff. So I feel like, yeah, you definitely need like a very good cast and stuff to definitely like, sell you on it. Like take the Dark Knight stuff. You had like Liam Neeson in the first movie, The Dark Knight. You also had Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine. Yeah, like a lot of good actors and stuff. And don't get me wrong, Christian Bale, I think he's good too, but I don't know if I would say Christian Bale is like a huge box office draw as far as actors go, but that's just me. But yeah, it's a better sense of Juneteenth as a holiday on Texas, which last state ended slavery. Okay. I just want more movies where actual movies and not solely relying on having popular actors in the cast. Oh yeah, I agree. Because I mean, movies is beyond just the actors and stuff. The actors are just the people that just bring it to life. That's how they should be treated. Versus, oh my God, that's so and so. You know what I mean? Like, let's put in all these like notable actors into like one scene and just do a movie about them. Nah, that wouldn't be interesting. I'm just saying like maybe one at a time or something like that. Like take John Wick for example. Like John Wick. You have Keanu Reeves and you have Lawrence Fishburne and maybe a few other actors and stuff, but really the appeal of John Wick is like just the action and people killing each other and stuff, and the action stars like Donnie Yen. Who else is in that movie? Scott Adkins, one of my favorite martial artists. That's why I was looking forward to the fourth one. But yeah, you got a lot of people like that. And then some other ideas too, like I said, they could definitely do like they need a solid, like an interesting like trailer, like, cause one of the reasons why Transformers 1 didn't work out, which I did see Transformers 1 when it came out, but the trailers just didn't look good at all. It was kind of like, this looks a little bit too kiddie and stuff like that. But when you actually watch the movie and stuff, it starts a little bit off that way, but it's kind of solid though, in a sort of kind of like a dark kind of Pixar kind of movie in a way. You know what I mean? That's kind of how Transformers 1 was like. You definitely need something a little bit more revolutionary. So something with like that will like blow your mind away. Like I know Ash, you're not a huge fan of like Avatar, but Avatar. That's definitely something that's revolutionary. You have to admit with the CGI and the looks and the environment and stuff. A lot of people clowned on Jurassic World, that recent one from like last year. Even though I thought that was a pretty decent movie in itself, I was like, yeah, it's a pretty solid movie. It's not that deep as everybody's trying to make it seem like. Well, oh my God, this is a terrible Jurassic Park movie or whatever. No, not really. It was all right. I mean, but you just wanted it to be something bigger than what it is. Or like, this is also what I wanted to talk about: Super Mario Galaxy and stuff. That movie and stuff, which is still in theaters, by the way. And I think it just crossed $1 billion and stuff. You know, it literally had crossed $1 billion. And a lot of the people on YouTube and the reactionaries were talking about, oh, well, Super Mario Galaxy sucks. It's not a good movie. It has no plot. Blah blah blah. But then people still showed up to enough, and it made $1 billion. So what's your excuse there? And I bet you everything that even though people are still going to trash this movie, the next like the sequel or whatever that they're going to do, people are still going to show up because it's Mario. You know. And look, that's the thing. It's Mario. Like, who expected like a huge, like, overcomplicated plot or something like that? I'm not saying that you can't attempt to like do a good story, because that is a necessary, like that is a necessity. But sometimes just having a good story isn't always like a sell. Like, it's not a selling point all the time. I'm just saying, like, yeah, you need other factors to kind of make a movie successful. Because Transformers One, like I said, that had a good story, much more better than what I was like, what I expected, but it didn't like really sell well because of how it was promoted, you know. Or this He-Man movie. I mean, well, the He-Man movie, the story could have probably been a little bit better, or I guess without all the jokes and stuff. Outside of that, solid movie, Ballerina. And so, well, that was Ballerina was kind of self sabotage because, well, not self sabotage, but that was sabotage because a lot of people were like, "Oh my God, it's a female, blah blah blah, female empowerment. They're back cooking John Wick, blah blah blah," but they didn't though, and people just overreacted, and then that kind of tanked Ballerina, so that kind of sucked. And in my opinion, She-Hulk when She-Hulk life is harder than Bruce is a child abuse survivor. Yeah, I think She-Hulk might have also gotten abused as well when she was a child, but she was never like, I know what you're talking about with that She-Hulk show, but with the MCU, but yeah, but with She-Hulk, I mean, but She-Hulk has never gone through the trauma and the experience that Hulk has ever gone through, because Hulk has been like, even outside of like his dad killing his mom and stuff, like his dad used to abuse him, beat both him and his mom, killed his mom. He grew up with a lot of, and he grew up with a lot of like Bruce Banner has grown up with a lot of pain and a lot of like animosity and stuff like bottled up to the point where it became like a separate personality. That's how we got the Hulk, right? Like before the gamma radiation and stuff, And the only person like really in his life that really like made Bruce like really feel like something was actually Betty Ross and stuff. Betty Ross was the one that really like like I don't know, like brought out some kind of like something in Bruce and whatnot, before he became the Hulk and all that, of course. Then the dude's been homeless, suicidal. He's been chased by the military. Like, yes, Hulk has it bad, okay, or Bruce Banner, whatever. They both have it bad, okay. So she all cannot relate to that because she has it a lot more easier. So I get it. Have you seen a scary movie yet? Actually, I've never really seen any of the scary movies at all. To be honest with you, um, isn't scary movies supposed to be a comedy or? Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, no, I haven't seen it though. Though I hate it a lot more when cartoons rely solely on actors, and no matter whether they can act or not, sure it can work like Keanu as Shadow, but some are just pathetic. Yeah, I mean, when you say it like that, I mean, it makes me think of Invincible because Invincible has like a lot of like, a lot of big names as far as like either voice actors or actors goes. But then the animation and all that stuff and like some of the fights is just failing it. Like, I'm like, wow, that is completely terrible. I didn't know She-Hulk was abused as a child. Which version of it? I'm talking about. I think it's Earth 616, the mainline She-Hulk. I think she might have gone through some abuse too. I think it's because I heard something about that was something that both her and Bruce could relate to and stuff as like cousins and stuff. I mean, of course they're cousins, but they can also relate to like also like being abused as children and stuff like that. That's what I heard. So I like, yeah, you could correct me if I'm wrong though. She-Hulk catcalling harder, or wait, am I a woman catcalling? It's not a real issue, but yeah. So but yeah, it's just like with Invincible and stuff, like with the animation. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, like I don't know with the animation and stuff, bro. Um, but they're really trying to sell you with only just the actors and the voice acting now at this point, which is like, all right, I think I'm good. But I'm glad I finished up reading the comic of Invincible. I don't really know when I'll or if I'll ever really watch a show like that again, to be honest with you, because of just how lazy they've been just going about it and just how pointless it just seems or how they've derailing from the actual comic. But yeah, so yeah, but you also, like I said, need refined CGI and animation, promotions, of course, the cereal stuff, or hell, McDonald's. Like remember, like with McDonald's and Burger King. I mean, they still do promote the toys and stuff like that. But back then we used to have the best type of toys. Like remember the 2007 TMNT stuff that they promoted from like McDonald's and all that. I can tell you like which movies promoted what, like, or which restaurant promoted what. I remember Iron Man, like Burger King used to promote Iron Man and stuff like that. But McDonald's always had the better toys. Let's just be honest. That's why everyone definitely loved to go to McDonald's the most too. But yeah, um, yeah. But I've never heard of like when Captain America 4 Brave New World had came out, like way before it came out. Remember, like months before, or like maybe a year or so before, 6 months or whatever, like they had the toys at McDonald's released early, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, the movie's going to come out 6 months later. I'm like, I've never heard of some incompetent stuff like that. Usually, the toys or whatever is supposed to release around the same time as the movie. So what the hell? So I don't know. That was just that was just like random or something I've never heard of before. But yeah, I mean, hey, shorts can help too with promotions. Into the Spider Verse or Across the Spider Verse had some shorts like that one thing with Miles Morales and his dad and him talking about like mental health and stuff, and him just like or having some kind of anxiety attack or something. Thought that was a pretty good short and stuff, and a good bonding moment between Miles and his dad, right? So yeah, just some ideas of like what can actually make a successful movie and stuff outside of just relying solely on one thing at a time, or just being like, well, I'm just gonna put this out here, shoot my shot, and then bam, that's it. You show the scene of She-Hulk to made a meditation who embrace say made it. I'm not gonna show it. I'm not gonna show it, Taylor. But I do know what you're talking about when she was like, yeah, where Hulk was trying to teach her how to like, how to like control her anger, and then she had the nerve to be like, I do it all the time because I get catcalled and I'm a woman and stuff like that. Even though you're talking to the goddamn Incredible Hulk, a man who, and it's not because he's angry is like what triggers. That's not alone what triggers Bruce Banner to become the Hulk. It's like literally, if he is under any kind of stress, or he has to like, this man cannot have sex without possibly turning it like without running the risk of turning into the Hulk, because that causes excitement. If he even gets excited and stuff like that, this man will turn into the Hulk. That's pretty bad. Okay, and he had to learn how to manage that. She-Hulk cannot do that at all. Okay, clearly she cannot do that compared to Bruce Banner. Okay, but yeah. So, like I said, those are my thoughts on the He-Man stuff. What makes a successful movie? I already talked about my cousin's death and me experiencing a racist moment, which is kind of weird too, because this is probably like the second time I might have had a racist moment and stuff like that. The first time I think I might have was when I was like taking this guy's order and stuff, like an older white guy and stuff like that. And then he was annoyed because I was getting annoyed with how like he was taking forever to order and stuff like that. And then I just like go to the back and stuff. And I think my manager like had popped up or whatever. I can't remember if it was my manager Terry or if it was Debbie or somebody, but the guy was like, back in my day, guys like him would have been appreciative to have a job like this. And I'm like, I know that oldest white guy did not just go ahead and say that. Like, I'm not offended, but I was just like, bro, you don't say that. That's like, where's the common sense? But yeah, so I already talked about those things. But what was the next thing I wanted to talk about? Oh yeah, The Dark Knight. Yeah, that's what I have in the title even. But yeah, there's a sex scene of She-Hulk with some dude while in the Hulk form. Okay. Anyways, as you can see by the title of the video and what I had said, I had finished reading a book, and I finally finished reading The Dark Knight Returns. So last week I decided to buy The Dark Knight Returns, the graphic novel, or I have the DC Compactable book that I had just gotten and whatnot. It's like literally like $10, but I got it for like $9 and some change because I have a membership at like Books a Millions. So yeah, so that's great because I definitely need to work on saving money and all that stuff right now because I'm a little bit short on money because I've been spending. Well, I've told you about my car situation and stuff, and that kind of take my wallets a little bit and other stuff too. So, you know, adulting, right? But anyways, yeah, I finished reading The Dark Knight Returns. It was pretty good. It definitely makes me again appreciate BVS a lot more actually, because I really feel like a lot of people definitely do not give BVS a lot of credit where credit is due and stuff. Of course, I've seen the Dark Knight Returns movies. Like I've seen part one and part two a long time ago. It's been a while, but I've just been watching clips, especially like Batman versus the Joker and their little final duel and stuff like that. That's pretty cool and whatnot. But yeah, so I finished reading The Dark Knight Returns officially, like read the entire book. I'm not gonna lie to you, I kind of skipped over some of the scenes though, like not some of the scenes, but some of the news stuff or whatever, where like Lana Lang, who's a part of the news now for some reason, and some other guy is like debating between Batman on whether or not Batman's like a hero or he's just a renegade vigilante, blah blah blah. All this, jargon and stuff like that. It's kind of like a little bit boring, which kind of makes me think of like Frank Miller's The Ronin, where like Frank Miller's like Ronin was kind of like God, it just felt like a word salad, you know. Like I heard some people talk about like what's that thing called? Talk about like Tom King and some of his comics where like it's like the paneling and stuff, or Alan Moore and stuff like yeah, he got that inspired from like Alan Moore and probably Frank Miller too, because I saw Tom King was saying that he like The Dark Knight Returns definitely inspired him. And I can see how The Dark Knight Returns definitely inspired Batman as a whole. Like I understand that that version of Batman isn't exactly the ideal kind of Batman sometimes, but I can definitely see how it definitely like rejuvenated and made people like actually take Batman a little bit more seriously and stuff. Because they took a lot of the elements of like Batman's character, his very serious, starch kind of stern like character and stuff and discipline and everything. I feel like all of that stemmed from that, which I know Neil Adams and Dennis O'Neil, those guys were also starting to make Batman a little bit more serious and also like did a lot of impactful things. But Frank Miller with stuff like Batman being a little bit more brutal, him like losing Jason Todd and stuff like that. Some of the lines of dialogue, like that even got used inside BVS, which wasn't even in the Dark Knight Returns movies, like where Batman's like, well, we've always been criminals and stuff. A line of dialogue he said to Superman one time, but then Ben Affleck's, Batman says that to Alfred, we've always been criminals. Or, when he's fighting Superman and stuff, he's like, your parents taught you this, that, and the third. But my parents only taught me one thing: dying in an alley. Those lines are used inside BVS and stuff like that, but was never used at all inside the Dark Knight like Returns movies for some apparent reason. You know, or I just realized that like literally Superman got hit with a nuke inside the Dark Knight Returns, just like how in BVS Superman also gets hit with a nuke as well, trying to stop Doomsday and stuff like that. So BVS, I mean, it's not an adaptation of the Dark Knight Returns, but it's just pulling influence from that, because that is kind of the first official time where like Batman and Superman like fought and stuff. And then of course you got the Robin costume hanging up and stuff, where like Ben Affleck's Batman is looking at the Robin costume, implying that Robin died, which I know Zack Snyder tried to say it was Dick Grayson, but it's really just Todd. So yeah. And I think of course Zack Snyder was right, because if you actually do look back on the Dark Knight Returns and some of this stuff, yeah, Batman definitely did kill and stuff. I wouldn't say he was doing it a crazy amount of times, but he definitely did, because again, that hostage situation and the type of gun that he used to shoot the guy and stuff, like to shoot the mutant leader that took the kid hostage and all that. There's no way that guy's just like, oh, he's just maimed, or he's like, nah, Batman shot and killed him, or like when he killed the Joker and stuff. But people were like, oh, but he must have hit a little paralyzing nerve to take down the Joker. But then when like the SWAT team members go to like try to capture Batman and they investigate the Joker's corpse and stuff, like one of the first things that the guy says is, "This is no suicide," and stuff like that. But yeah, but there's a part of me that feels like doing a video, kind of like breaking down some of this stuff or whatever. Actually, like doing the comparisons from like the comic and the movies, or I actually had an idea of like the next time I read The Last Ronin, I want to like kind of list off my examples or list off the not my example, but list off the references that The Last Ronin makes to like certain movies like Terminator or the Ronin, the actual Ronin by Frank Miller, or The Dark Knight Returns, or whatever, stuff like that. Because I'm like, oh, okay, that's a nice little reference, or The Crow and stuff. I do feel like doing that in the future, though. You heard about the new chapter about Berserk comes out? No, I have not. I'm not gonna lie to you, fierce apathetic Black Queen. I have not really read Berserk. I have watched the animes, both the '90s one, and I have watched the CGI one. But I definitely do want. I am thinking about reading the comics though, the mangas and stuff, because I want to kind of get past the whole Black Hawks thing and stuff and see what like Guts did after that. So, but obviously I've been like stalling though on that. But yeah. But anyways, but that's pretty much the Dark Knight Returns though. So pretty good story, definitely impactful and whatnot. Had me captivated for the most part. But like I said, I don't like the news stuff or whatever, or like those panels where it just is like annoying and whatnot. So yeah. Oop. Or even like Batman's drinking problem that he had inside that comic as well, because we're not a drinking problem, but he started to drink more in the in the later years, just like Ben Affleck's Batman, where he was starting to drink more in recent years as well. So those are some aspects that Zack Snyder was actually able to capture with his version of Batman, but a lot of people still aren't going to acknowledge that. They're still going to be like, "Oh, it's terrible, it's terrible." Well, is it though? Because it actually is kind of showing you that there are flaws with this character though. Which static numbers were male than female? She-Hulk had a logical sense. She lucky to be a woman. Then her life harder than Bruce. Yeah, she definitely. I mean, he definitely. Yeah, Hulk definitely does have a harder life than what's his face. Than She-Hulk. That's without a shadow of a doubt. Because She-Hulk can still have a job and not get like ridiculed or chased or treated like a monster and stuff. Just like her cousin. Ah, damn it! I wanted to talk about the X-Men movies. Well, it's kind of getting a little bit late, but I'm not sure if I have the cognition right now. Well, you know what? I guess it wouldn't hurt to talk a little bit about the X-Men movies. Oh yeah, I think I got some energy for this. Hang on. But yeah. Oh yeah, I also forgot to say that my Sailor Moon DVD Blu-ray for the first season had just came in today. Let me pull this up. Check it out, Sailor Moon. Yep. Yes, that's right. I am a Sailor Moon fan. I like the characters and whatnot. My favorite Sailor Guardian would have to be Sailor Venus, Minako Aino, but I'll probably talk about that another time. But the reason why I did that whole filler poll thing was because I have a future. There's a video I've always had in the back of my head that I wanted to talk about when it comes to like anime filler and all that stuff. And before I do that video, I actually wanted to rewatch Sailor Moon first, the first season at least. I'm not going to rewatch the whole series just for this video, but I think watching the first season of Sailor Moon will be sufficient enough because it kind of gets my point across. Because if you don't know, like Sailor Moon is very well, you already know it. Sailor Moon is very episodic and stuff, and they have a lot of just let's say filler for a bit until they get to the main point. That's pretty much the original like '90s Sailor Moon Sailor Moon Crystal, if you want to just get straight to the point, then you might as well just watch Sailor Moon Crystal because it is more accurate to the manga. But I've always kind of found the anime to be a little bit more interesting though. Some of the choices in the anime, the original anime, I don't agree with and stuff like that. I really don't. Some of it was like a little bit unnecessary drama, but then again, it kind of does give certain characters a little bit more characterization, or it has something going for them than just being like, oh, well, they're just there, and I don't know, or the Sailor Guardians had more wins under their name than just like, oh, well, they're just there to back up Usagi. That's just how I personally feel. Is it the complete seasons of Sailor Moon on DVD? No, it's just the first season, Taylor, of Sailor Moon. So like, there's Sailor Moon R, which is the second season of Sailor Moon, Sailor Moon S, Sailor Moon Super S, and then Sailor Stars. That's the final season of Sailor Moon overall. Okay. I just got the first season. Okay, it's like 40. I think they said it was like what 46 episodes in this cover. Yeah, 46 episodes. So I'm gonna watch that at some point, and I'm gonna probably tell you my thoughts, which is actually ironic because I'm also watching another type of shojo anime called Magic Knights Ray Earth. Yeah, it's a sword and stone. I mean, sword and sorcery type of anime and whatnot. It's on Netflix, so it's a classic '90s kind of thing. But yeah, it definitely reminds me of Sailor Moon a little bit, and yeah, yeah. So yeah, but it's not like a magical girl kind of anime, or I guess if you want to perceive it like that, though, sort of. But yeah. But anyways, I wanted to talk about the Fox X-Men movies, though. Straying off topic again. I just wanted to show you guys my Sailor Moon thing, though. Oh yeah, and the recent comic of TMNT came out about Tang Shen, which I'm thinking about doing a video about that too as well, where I'm going to talk about Tang Shen and stuff. I had this idea also in the back of my head too, but you'll see where I'm getting at with that one. I'm almost finished my final video about Devil May Cry season 2, my final verdict of what I think of season 2 overall. So if you guys have any questions about Devil May Cry, you can feel free to ask me right now. I don't really mind. But yeah, but it's not well. Okay, it's going to probably be like 30 minutes, but I guess I'm kind of glad that I didn't decide to just shoot all this stuff together and stuff because trust me, this would have been a long video. It would have been like way over an hour. Hey, what's happening, Jay Leno? You're just in time. I was actually just about to talk about the Fox X-Men stuff, actually. But I was talking about like other stuff, like you almost get into an actual fight with some racist and stuff like that. Yep, that's right. Talked about a similar situation my cousin was in, but he got killed over it. You can go back to the stream if you want to get the full context about that. What else? I've talked about what I think makes a successful movie and all that. What I think makes some successful movies and stuff like that. If they really did a lot of the stuff that they had did back inside the 2000s, where a lot of the stuff they really promoted the hell out of a lot of those movies, whether it was through music videos or video games promotions, like cereal boxes and stuff like that. I remember how they used to have the little prize inside and stuff like that. I remember Spider-Man 3 used to have those little water squirters of Spider-Man, Venom, New Goblin, and Sandman and stuff back in the day. So, yeah, we need to bring some of that stuff back to kind of get kids a little bit more interested because He-Man, although I think He-Man was actually a pretty decent movie for the most part, I just feel like it could have used some kind of boost like that to kind of step up in terms of in sales. But that's just my opinion though. But anyways, I guess I'll tell you a little bit of the history of my whole thing with the Fox X-Men movies and stuff, which is the whole point with the whole movie thing. But because I wanted to talk about this because I saw this guy, Anthony Graham Ugelia. Yeah, Anthony Graham Ugelia. He's a YouTuber. And I just found out, which I've known of him for a bit because I remember he did a video talking about Justin Bell and stuff. And I was like, oh, great. Because he was trying to say, oh, well, Justin Bell's wrong for her opinion about Harley Quinn. And oh, Harley Quinn is just as empowering, just as ever, and she's just homophobic with her and like the relationship with like Poison Ivy and blah blah blah. I don't know. It was stupid. It was just stupid to me. And I only just found out recently that that guy is a CBR writer, which that makes plenty of sense why he's yeah, because he looks so soy, and then he's defending like the worst stuff about like comic books and stuff like that. Yeah, he definitely has to be a CBR writer. So anyways, he's been talking trash about a lot of the X-Men movies and stuff lately, and stuff like that, like Cyclops, Mystique, so on and so forth. And then he's like, "Oh well, the Fox X-Men movies didn't explore Mystique's bisexuality, like in the comics and stuff." Who the hell cares? I'm like, who the hell cares? Who the hell wants to see that? Like usually Mystique is usually with a lot of men anyways, but even then nobody wants to really you know, like we don't need that information and stuff. I know they could have explored more of her like relationship with like Rogue and Nightcrawler and stuff like that, even though in the movies Mystique never adopted Rogue and stuff, and it's implied that Nightcrawler is her son and whatnot. But we kind of already know the truth ourselves, though. Nah, McDonald's, on the other fast food chains, should bring back the worst food ideas like pizza served in a box made of another pizza. What is it they call it? The McDonald's pizza? I'm just kidding. Remember the Krusty Krab pizza bit? Yeah, I think that's what you're probably referring to, Ashes. But anyways, but yeah, but with like Mystique though, yeah, he was like, oh, going in. I'm like, Mystique was fine as she was inside the movies, although the movies was the one that introduced her to be naked and stuff like that because I guess Brian Singer thought, oh, well, I think Mystique as a character would be interesting as like a nudist that she's proud to be a mutant and stuff like that. Well, well, thank you for giving us that, I guess. Even though Brian Singer is, a terrible person for what I heard, but still, yeah. But anyways, but the whole Cyclops thing though, which yeah, I understand like the movies definitely had its flaws and whatnot, and some of the characters a lot like got underutilized, or some characters like Wolverine was overpushed. But I don't think it was because like oh well, Wolverine was like you know so on and so forth. But think of it like take GI Joe, right? The GI Joe movies. So in the second GI Joe movie, what's his face? Duke, who's usually like one of the main characters of GI Joe, got killed off and all that. So they had created like a brother for Duke in the second movie that was played by Dwayne the Rock Johnson and stuff. So they made the movie kind of center around him and stuff. The Dwayne Johnson's character and all that, where he was like, oh, this is Duke's brother and he's the main character now of the whole movie. Because The Rock is such a big name. So that's what I think that they were trying to do with Wolverine and like the whole Cyclops thing. So that's just my opinion about that. X-Men were not a mega gay. You can see I'm tired. May allegory. I guess that's what you mean. May let it go. It was yeah. It definitely was not or a raised allegory. But if you want to see it, perceive it that way, fine. But that wasn't the original intent, though. But going back to what I was saying about the movies, so I guess I'll tell you guys my history with the movies. So the first time I've seen X-Men in the movies was actually like X2, because my mom used to have X2 on DVD and stuff like that. So, I used to ask her to like borrow it a lot and stuff like that, to the point where she just practically like gave the movie to me and stuff because I enjoyed watching it so much, like X2 and whatnot, seeing those like characters and stuff. They were interesting. They were like, diverse and stuff. They had like different powers and stuff. Like, you got Wolverine who can like, the claws and stuff. You got guys like Cyclops who can fire lasers from his eyes. Yes, I know it's concussive energy blast from another dimension, some dumb shit like that. But Cyclops can also make it burn like heat and all that other stuff if he wants to. Whatever. You had like a girl that can like, move things with her mind. You have somebody that can like control the weather. You got a guy that controlled metal and stuff like that. You had a lot of like characters with different types of powers or abilities and stuff that I just never would have thought, or it was interesting, right? So X2 was my first actual introduction to the X-Men. Okay. Then I saw X3 in theaters. That was the first movie I ever saw in theaters about the X-Men and stuff. You know, the conclusion to like like to the X-Men trilogy. So I didn't know really about X1 until that Christmas of after X3 it came out, where my aunt actually got me like X-Men 1, 2, and well, actually no, I had two, but she got me 1 and 3 on DVD and stuff. So, I had like, that whole trilogy right there. So I saw X-Men 1. I thought it was a pretty decent introduction to the characters and stuff for the most part, and like who or what the X-Men are and what they do, which I feel like that's what every like first movie should always do is like, be a keyhole or an introduction to like who or what these characters are and what they do, what their purpose and stuff. So yeah. So after that, I never really thought that X Men would ever do a trilogy ever again or any kind of like, movies and stuff. I mean, of course, we got X Men Origins Wolverine, which came out in like 2009 and stuff. And I know a lot of people do not like that movie. I have a little bit of a guilty pleasure for that movie. I'm not going to lie to you. I thought it was all right and stuff. I just feel like it's kind of like Rise of the Silver Surfer, where, how Rise of the Silver Surfer, a lot of people don't remember the plot of the movie or don't remember a lot of other details about the movie, but then they fixate on Galactus and stuff not being accurate or not being like how he is in the comics. But it's like the same thing with X Men Origins Wolverine, where a lot of people were anticipating Deadpool, and then we got Weapon 11, which I thought Weapon 11 was cool, but yeah, we all wanted Deadpool in the costume and the merc with the mouth, etc. I get it. Okay. But anyways, but X Men Origins Wolverine though, I mean, but I gotta say, like, it definitely did have a lot of good moments in my personal opinion, because I think Sabretooth was like a cool, like, he was definitely a very cool villain, and some of the fights inside that movie was pretty awesome and stuff and epic. Or that helicopter motorcycle chase scene. So I think X Men Origins Wolverine has some pretty cool moments in my personal opinion. Or that opening where like Wolverine and like Sabretooth, which I know the movies they made them brothers, but I thought it was pretty cool how they were brothers and stuff like that to kind of justify their like connection to each other and all that. So So yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you, I do like X Men Origins Wolverine. Or like X Men First Class, that was another movie where they were doing like a what became of, or how did so and so happen and stuff like that, which I didn't know that, again, didn't know that would become its own trilogy, where First Class, it was showing you how did Professor X and Magneto, like how they meet, how they start the X Men and stuff like that, etc. And by then I already had like the Marvel Encyclopedia books. So I kind of knew how the X Men had kind of gotten started, and I knew the original members in the comics, which was like Cyclops, Iceman, um, Angel, Beast, and Jean Grey, led or founded by Professor X himself and stuff. That was the the X Men right there. But then the First Class movie had kind of took an inspiration from that, but kind of did its own thing where it was actually Havoc, Darwin, uh, Angel, but Angel not Warren Warrington, but yeah, the stripper Angel and stuff like that. But she betrayed them. But Darwin, Banshee, Havoc, that's three characters right there. Um, sort of Mystique. Let's just throw her in, whatever. Beast. Um, yeah, yeah, and of course Professor X himself. They were the first X Men and Magneto or whatever. Yeah. And I already said, oh yeah, did I say Darwin? Well, I did, but then I kind of had to recount. But you get the point. They were the first X Men members and stuff on the team and all that. So they're focusing on other characters that have never really gotten any focus before and stuff. Like I said, Havoc and stuff. That's a character who has never been touched before, which was kind of weird because I already knew Havoc was supposed to be like Cyclops' younger brother and all that stuff. And then they made him the older brother inside the X Men movies. But even in the Ultimate comics, there have been sometimes changes where in the Ultimate comics, which is based off the movies, they did actually make Havoc actually the older brother over Cyclops as well in that version. So, yeah, so that's the reasoning for that. But you still had like some pretty cool scenes and stuff. I remember seeing that with my mom in theaters and whatnot. Zazel was killing people, the Hellfire Club, Riptide, Sebastian Shaw, Magneto literally took that coin and put it through his head, all that stuff. Like I remember Like that stuff used to be hype back in the day, like back in the day, man. You know. So then after that, we had the Wolverine, which I kind of regret not seeing the Wolverine in theaters. I really regret not seeing it in theaters because I remember my nana. She was kind of like, well, you can only watch only one of these two movies, either Kick Ass 2 or the Wolverine. I chose Kick Ass 2 and stuff. Which don't get me wrong, I did like Kick Ass 2 when it came out, and I thought it was funny, but I haven't seen it ever since then. But I wish I would have saw the Wolverine in theaters because I always come back to the Wolverine and stuff. And yeah, it's such a good movie. But I saw it digitally though. Like I saw it online or whatever that same year because I was taking advantage of like the internet and stuff. And you know how like sometimes you can watch stuff online or whatever because people will be posting stuff. Yeah, that's what I did. But I wish sometimes, there's always a better experience with just watching things, up front. But that's for the most part a little bit of my history with the X-Men movies. And the reason why I'm saying that is like because like you said with that guy Anthony and stuff, he's like clowning on those like movies or clowning on the characters and stuff. And don't get me wrong, there are some. It definitely does have some borderline problems. I'm not saying that it doesn't. Some characters that get underutilized, some characters that definitely can use some shine. I get it, but then again, like the Fox X-Men movies had a pretty positive influence on the X-Men franchise as a whole because it got new fans like me into it. And it also spawned several other cartoons and stuff and plenty of video games like X-Men Legends 1 and 2. I actually have X-Men Legends 2. I just got that not too long ago. It's a pretty fun game and stuff. I got other games that I want to beat first, but yeah, X-Men Legends 2, 1 and 2. X-Men Mutant Academy, which I think I traded in Mutant Academy, but Mutant Academy, that was a fun ass game. I'm not gonna lie to you. Mutant Academy 2, I think it had a sequel. And I think I used to play that with friends back in the day. Like one of my friends, I think it was Autumn who owned it. Yeah. Yeah, that was a fun game though, as well. And it had a lot of characters in it. I think it even had Spider-Man in it for whatever reason. But yeah. Marvel Nemesis, Rise of the Imperfects. I'm gonna tell you about that game some other time. But yeah, Ultimate Alliance, like yeah, a lot of the 2000 stars, like 2000 superheroes from Marvel, whether it be Elektra, Blade, Wolverine, Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, those guys are on the front cover on Ultimate Alliance and stuff. So I'm just saying, like a lot of those characters had a lot of validity back then and stuff like that, and they're just not really given the proper treatment now because Marvel tries to like really self-sabotage them and just be like, oh, they ain't shit or whatever, or they're lame or whatever and stuff like that because they don't have the full rights to them and stuff. So they try to like sabotage them, even in terms of the writing and stuff with like with Avengers versus X-Men and stuff. They did like a little comic book run, or not comic book run, but a comic book event where it was X-Men versus Avengers. They completely demonized the X-Men and turned them all into like terrorists and stuff. And it's just been a spiral downhill with that where Cyclops is like that, and that until, a lot of people want to shit on Bo DeMayo, including apparently Jester Bell, who was like, oh, well, Bo DeMayo's not responsible for. No, he is. No, he is, because they weren't doing anything with Cyclops until Bo DeMayo with X-Men 97 and stuff decided, hey, you know what? Let's focus on Cyclops. We're not going to focus on Wolverine. We're not going to focus on because they've already had their time in the sun. So let's focus on Cyclops. Let's focus on Jean Grey. Let's focus on like Rogue or whatever and stuff like that, and just do this the right way. And now, and now some of those characters are being talked about, talked about now, or it's been a while and stuff like that. But anyways, that's all I wanted to say with my history with the Fox X-Men movies and just what I think makes successful movies in general, my story time, me reading The Dark Knight Returns. Kind of getting a little bit tired here, but I'm going to try to read some of these last couple of comments or whatever, mainly by Taylor. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask before I check off. Mutants I've seen in the media were a most dominant straight queer LGBT and their allies. Current writers kept abused with low-cow and cash cows. Wait, they allowed you to watch Kick-Ass 2 movie despite being a very young age? Wow, lucky experience. Well, I think I wouldn't say I was super young. I mean, I was young, but I was like, I think Kick-Ass 2 came out in 2013, that and the Wolverine. So I was probably like 14 when that movie came out. Like, let me search it up real quick because I remember that one part where Hit Girl had that little sick stick and she made the cheerleaders sick as hell with that thing. Yeah, it was 2013. So I was like 14 around this time when I saw it. Yeah. So I was like, kind of a teenager around this time. So I saw that with my nana. Yeah, I was definitely a teenager. It was August 13th. I mean, August 16th and stuff. So yeah. Yeah, yeah. I remember that one part where Hit Girl hit that girl with that sick stick and then she gave her instant like diarrhea and made her throw up and stuff. That was so nasty and stuff or whatever. Or that one dude, Chris, the red this guy from that first movie, he was like, just call me the motherfucker. And he's wearing his mom's leather and stuff after he killed his mom. I was like, yo, what is this? Yo. And then he was like with that one girl, like, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that dude, Chris, he kind of carried the movie a little bit. And then he was like, he was about to rape that one girl, Night Pitch, that was like that was having sex with like Kick Ass and stuff like that. He was like, you're gonna have some big evil dick. And he tried to whip it out and he couldn't. And everybody's like, bro, what are you doing? He's like, I'm just not, yeah, I don't know. All right, just beat her up or something. That was kind of hilarious though. And it's funny too because Classic D-Man had gotten a thing too where he was like with Kick-Ass, he's like, will Kick-Ass survive the boys universe? I'm like, hell no. Hell no. Kick-Ass is not gonna, he can't even survive in the real world, let alone in the freaking the boys universe. What are you talking about? Like, of course he ain't gonna survive. He is going to be killed. I mean, yeah, like literally Kick Ass, he is guided by thanks to some dumb luck. And he's definitely had a lot of dumb luck and stuff, but he's not going to do anything in the boys' universe. I'm like, if anything, like even the boys, non costume guys that are in the CIA or whatever and stuff like that, or have been like, like on and off criminals, terrorists, whatever. Yeah, they can do a lot more than Kick Ass and stuff. Like Kick Ass is supposed to be a cautionary tale about what not to do and stuff in the real life, like dress up as a superhero and stuff, and yeah, go around and try to fight against crime because this will be the end result of that. Okay. Anyways, have you had a moment where you accidentally influenced others' opinions? I now regret doing that about the 2003 Shredder, even though I still think he was underwhelming due to some pathetic defeats. I mean, I wouldn't say. I mean, maybe sometimes, I guess, but I mean, but that's the point of my channel is to like kind of influence you guys, or maybe like show you guys my perspective, or persuade others about my takes and stuff like that, and just see things from like my kind of point of view and whatnot. You don't have to agree and stuff like the X-Men thing I was just talking about, or the He-Man movie, which I know people want to crap on and stuff like that. But I thought it was a pretty solid movie and a pretty interesting watch for the most part. Or hell, even my ideas about what can make a successful movie and stuff like that. I don't think like yeah, you could probably disagree with me on some of those takes, I guess, about well, what makes a successful movie. And I list these ideas. You're like, oh, that won't work. Okay, cool, whatever. But but I'm just saying though, like yeah. Or even when I said that, yeah, I got into He-Man thanks to that She-Ra 2019 cartoon and stuff like that. You're definitely obligated to disagree with me and stuff like that. But I'm just saying, like, but I'm kind of glad if I could influence you guys and stuff to see things in a different kind of perspective, or like think a little bit more deeply, which is kind of what I want you guys to do. I want you guys to like think more with nuance and stuff, and not just like say things of what everyone else just says because oh well he said it and I don't have a stance on it, or I can't really like what I mean. Yeah, I want you to think for yourselves for the most part, but that's pretty much what I gotta say on that. I just remembered too that Batman vs Superman cartoon, I think, is supposed to come out today, the new season. So I'll probably check it out after the stream, which I know is already past 12, but yeah, it'll be fun to dunk on it. And I am dog tired. So yeah. But I'll probably do a stream next week or something. We'll have to see. But I really appreciate you guys for coming through and like, you know, chilling and stuff. We chopped it up. But yeah, this is the Kage Level Fox and Mouthpiece, and until we meet again.